I'm Kristen Hamilton, and I'm an employment specialist at VCU's Rehabilitation Research and Training Center.
Hi, I'm Austin Miller, and I'm also an employment specialist with VCU's RRTC.
Today, this webcast is for employers who wish to support a more integrated work environment within their business. You will learn tips on how to coordinate with employment specialists and to aid in a more successful vocational experience for people with disabilities. Through building partnerships and conducting inclusivity trainings, managers and staff will be given the tools to incorporate supported employment practices within their work culture.
So, understanding the needs of the client and their support network. During the intake process, we get the opportunity to learn about our client as an individual, their past work experiences, their goals, and most importantly, their work preferences moving forward. The needs of the work preferences can include the importance of working full-time versus part-time, the amount of hours per week, which can vary due to a number of reasons, such as a medical condition, maybe current benefits they're receiving, their stamina, and the travel time or distance to a desired work location. And so it's important to have the input of their support network while discussing the importance of these work preferences. Not only because many of our clients rely heavily on their support network, but also because we need them, being the support network, to have a buy-in to continue to foster the goal of independence and employment for our clients. Not every family has the same needs of job requirements or prioritizes them in the same way, which is why it's important to discuss all of this in the initial intake and to continue to discuss it as needs change.
Skill building through project search. So both clients completed a transition program called Project Search. It's a school to work transition program for young adults with disabilities. They completed the program at 2 separate times. However, when I worked with both clients, I was able to build rapport with them, understanding their strengths and their challenges, and I really got to know them and their personalities, and based off of that information, I was able to place them in an internship site that I felt that they would thrive in. So both interns completed an internship with materials management, and they really enjoyed the routine, systematic work that came with it. And these skills that they learned throughout the internships, and especially in the materials management department, are transferable skills. And so ultimately what we teach them in Project Search are these different skill sets that can be transferred to another community work site, as well as other skill sets such as appropriate work behavior, social skills, and just advocation, learning how to, advocate your needs and your wants, especially in a work environment. So finding the right fit for employment. So after Project Search, I worked with both clients to look for the perfect employment fit for each of them based on the skill sets that they now had acquired through Project Search, and based on their work preferences, as we discussed before. It's important to find the right job fit because, we want to enhance the client's well-being. We want them to become as independent as possible. And then it's important to find the right fit because it aids in job retention. So with the first client, we had discussed her working in a warehouse setting. She first received employment in a mail sorting facility, and we discovered that after a couple months that it really wasn't sufficing those needs that she had originally advocated for. So, and the business wasn't able to accommodate those needs. And so we went back to the drawing board and we went back into job development through going to open interviews and filling out job applications. The first client was then able to get a call back from the vitamin shop, and that's where Austin came in and assisted her with the interviewing process.
So the vitamin shop typically conducts group interviews when looking to hire. This is an effective method for the vitamin shop as a company, just because they have multiple positions and the warehouse itself is very large, housing hundreds of employees. So it's an efficient way, as I said, for the business to conduct the large group interviews, but however, for our clients, it's not always the preferred way due to their various needs of our clients. And so one accommodation that the vitamin shop was willing to work with us was allowing us to do a site tour of the warehouse to learn about the different positions before we proceeded with the actual onboarding process. And this tour of the facility was really helpful, not only for our clients and ourselves, but also for the vitamin shop, so everyone could get a better understanding of what the job would entail and to see if it would make sense for us to continue. Another accommodation that Vitamin Shop and other businesses is helpful is conducting a working interview of where the client might go in beforehand to kind of do some hands-on learning and complete a variety of tasks to just give a real feel of what the position would entail. Many businesses, however, may not have experience working with job coaches or an understanding of what supported employment is. This is why it's important for us, the employment specialists, to provide them with that understanding of our model. We like to work closely with human resources and managers to educate them about reasonable accommodations that could potentially be implemented throughout the interviewing and onboarding process. And this is beneficial for those individuals with disabilities who go through it in the future. So training to become a health enthusiast, management works with employment specialists to foster the success of our clients in a number of ways. It could be identifying a strong health enthusiast mentor, being flexible with the client in the training process, and being open to incorporating additional training techniques. For client one, it was pretty clear that we were going to need to find somebody that our client could reach out to if she had questions. Typically in the vitamin shop, a health enthusiast will get maybe 1 to 2 days to shadow another employee, and then they're sent to their workstation to continue working. And we identified pretty early on that by having one person that client one could go and speak to if she had questions or concerns, that it would ultimately allow her to succeed in the position that she was hired for. And I had suggested that client one have 1 to 2 weeks to work closely with this mentor and then to slowly begin to build space and independence from one another, which ultimately allowed client one to just get further away from her mentor and instill some of the confidence that she was gaining as she continued to work. And so that was one reasonable accommodation that Vitamin Shop was willing to allow for us. And oftentimes the accommodations are cost effective for them as a business, and the employment specialist will work with the employers to identify what those accommodations can be. And so again, having this mentor for client one, she was able to essentially learn her role and gain that confidence that would allow her to be independent.
So another accommodation that we like to advocate for is not only designating a mentor to be our go-to person for our clients, but also allowing additional training time to master these tasks and these job duties. So throughout that additional training time, we can come up with performance goals to ultimately meet productivity needs and requirements. However, what we were seeing with our second client is that, the first job that he was placed in, which is what client one was doing, which is a very self-paced position and requires a lot of self-discipline and working more so by yourself as opposed to on a line with other individuals. And we saw that he wasn't mastering this job, and then he wasn't as intrinsically motivated to master this particular position. So beyond advocating for additional training time, we asked the business to be flexible with allowing us to cross-train into another position and allowing time to train in that new position to see if it's going to be a better fit for our clients. And in this case, it was the better fit for our second client. He was working now on a production line where the work comes to him. He stays pretty stationary alongside other health enthusiasts. And we just saw that working around other people really motivated him. And because he's so high energy, that this was a really good fit for him. So again, just allowing us as employment specialists to exhaust all other options and to train to see if a different type of work setting is going to be the best fit for our clients. Because again, we want to foster independence, and that's the goal. So just finding that right fit is important.
So integrating supportive employment practices into the work culture. It was pretty evident after a couple months. We had 2 clients working within the company, and they were showing signs of success, and their team as well as our team, we were pretty happy with the results of what we were seeing. And so human resources and management reached out to both Kristen and myself to discuss the supported employment model and ways to continue to incorporate those at the Vitamin Shop. And so Kristen and I were invited to do an inclusivity training with the staff, primarily the managers out in the warehouse, as well as some of the admin managers in the HR setting. And so in these trainings, we were able to provide tools to best support individuals with disabilities in the workplace. Some of the tips and tools included how to build rapport with clients, behavior management techniques, ways to work with the job coach, general disability etiquette, and so on. And the initial training was so successful that Chris and I were invited to come back and do a second one, and we've agreed to kind of have if they would like us to continue to do additional trainings, to reach out to us, and we would be more than happy to provide that. So by helping to facilitate any additional individualized trainings for those work side by side with our clients, which could include ways to specifically support that person. The team at the Vitamin Shop were appreciative and are continuing to discuss incorporating a segment on inclusivity in their general orientation as well for all new hires.
It's really important to maintain open communication with both the business management team as well as human resources and the client. We often say that the individual with the disability is our client, but it's important for the business to know that once they become part of our team and employing the individual with the disability, they become our client as well. So it's really important to have an understanding of their needs and making sure that we keep that open communication to ensure that we are maintaining and meeting those needs. We also act as the liaison between the client and the business. So it's important that, if the business has any concerns or feedback for the client, and they feel more comfortable going through us to provide that feedback, then, that's an option that we like to have available to them as well. So once the clients do become independent in their role as a health enthusiast, we start to fade our presence, and we really rely on the management team, on those mentors to, keep us updated on any concerns or even positive feedback that they have. Because again, it's important that we understand the needs of the business and that we're meeting those needs. As we continue our partnership with Vitamin Shop, they really rely on us to know the clients that we're bringing to them and have a good understanding of their abilities and that they can meet those needs of the business. And so that's why, we work closely with human resources and the management team to potentially bring this partnership together and bring more clients to them that have a desire to work in that type of setting. And it's also important that we know the client and that can fit well into their work culture. We look forward to receiving any questions that you may have. Please post any questions to the web board. Thank you.